Record.
3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, I'm Alyssa, an Indianapolis Colts cheerleader for the 2024 season, and this is Believe in Colts.
Welcome back to Believe in Colts. I'm Lawrence Owen. With me, as usual, is my guy, Donald Thomas. And today, 2 weeks in a row, Victory Monday, Donald. Oh my, we hosted the dreaded Pittsburgh Steelers and that vaunted defense and a quarterback that's really been looking good as of late this season and still was able to walk out with a win. What was your initial reaction to yesterday's game?
I was happy the Colts showed up to play. I think that, they didn't look at what we just talked about, what you just said, as, just another team that was in their way. And I think they understood how they had to play the game. And I was very impressed by how guys showed up to play, and guys stepped in to play well and manage a game. So, hats off to the Colts for, evening up the score and, getting to 500.
Absolutely. Now, before we get into this, I want to remind everybody, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our 200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance to win weekly prizes and your share of $200,000. When the game's over, head over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here. So I want to talk about this vaunted defense where the Indianapolis Colts in the first few drives with Anthony Richardson in, let's just drop it right here. I get Anthony Richardson had 2 drives, but he looked almost unstoppable in those 2 drives. Something that we've had a lot of complaints about the first 3 weeks was his accuracy, not being on the same page with receivers. And in this game, he looked way different, in my opinion. He did have that one pass. He only threw 4 passes this game, completed 3 of them, and 3 of those 4 looked really, really good. Now, the second pass to Michael Pittman Jr. looked like one of those traditional, I'm going to sail it over your head passes. But the other 3 dead on the money, and they looked good. And with him in, Jonathan Taylor, there was a big difference in the running game while he was in. And it was incredibly noticeable, right? Where with him in, Jonathan Taylor was averaging about 6 yards a carry, plus what Richardson was getting. Without him in, by the end of the game, Jonathan Taylor dropped dramatically to 4.2 yards a carry. And you could tell there was a massive difference. The Steelers, when it was time to run, they knew they weren't afraid of Flacco running the football. So every time they crashed down on Taylor instead of worrying about Anthony Richardson. Talk to me a little bit about how that whole dynamic changes a game when you have to play against one guy with one set of certain skills, and then you come in with another guy with a different set of certain skills.
Yeah, I mean, that's just game plan, game time decisions, right? Like, you got to be able to adjust. So when you look at it from a standpoint of, I have a dual running threat in the backfield with, Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor in the game, you have to play it differently. You have to, guys have to be, guys have certain responsibilities where they can't, allow guys to get outside the pocket, contain. You got one guy that's manned up on the running back. You got a guy that's manned up on the quarterback. And then when that switches, when that changes, where you're not worried about Joe Flacco, running, the only time he's going to run is for his life, and 9 times out of 10 he's going to get caught. You're able to take one guy out of the box and try to play the pass game because this guy's a passer. And so, like, you saw that happen with the Steelers, but it just wasn't enough because Joe savvy. Joe's a veteran. He's been in the game for a very long time. Hats off to Joe. I mean, he was in my draft class, right? So that shows you how old we are, right? I got pushing 40 with Gray. So, but at the end of the day, I think that the Colts knew what the adjustment was going to be, and they executed it to where, you're not asking Joe Flacco to throw bombs down the field. You're asking him to make quick passes, make good decisions, just, manage the offense, move the ball down the field. Now, one great thing about Joe Flacco is you don't have to dummy the offense down for him. It kind of opens it up to where you don't have to cater to one guy's style as much as where you're like, hey, look, listen, we're going to run the read option. We're going to do all this kind of stuff, but on the other hand, it does affect Jonathan Taylor directly, because now, we can focus on one guy running the football. We have to manage and not allow him to take the game over. And so the Colts have to just understand that going forward, forever, how long Anthony's going to be out for, that this is going to be a thing. And Jonathan has to understand that guys are just going to be keying on him in the run game as opposed to having to worry about two guys.
Yeah. With keeping in on Joe Flacco a little bit, you could tell in this game his veteran savvy, his veteran presence, but also you could also tell that he didn't get many first team reps. There was early in the game on multiple occasions where there was some miscommunication, right? Especially now, I don't know if this is just because he didn't get first team reps or if this is all on AD Mitchell, because AD Mitchell, we're seeing this all year, right? With AD Mitchell, where he goes one direction, the ball's thrown a different direction. At a certain point, I don't know if there's a route option or something of that nature, but we're seeing this quite a bit throughout the season now, 4 games in, where AD is just doesn't seem to be where the quarterback expects him to be when he throws the football. Now, like I said, with Flacco, he's been here, done that. With Anthony Richardson, you could say, well, these are just 2 young guys that's not on the same page. So is this a AD Mitchell thing, do you think?
I think it is, to be honest with you. I think that there's still a learning curve for AD to understand where the ball is going to be placed. Here's the thing, like, there's so many checks that happen at the line of scrimmage. When you see a coverage, you have to be on the same page with your quarterback to understand that he might give you the check, or he's going to look at that defense and understand that he can't throw that ball where you are going to, originally run your route. You have to break it off or, run an alternate route. And so, like, as you have a more seasoned veteran receiver, he understands that, right? He knows that, hey, look, we see this coverage with, 2 safeties, whatever it is. I can't, the ball's not going to be in the middle of the field. We got 2 guys there. We got to break it off. So there's so many different factors that come in, but the beauty of it is if Anthony's going to be out, they have this week to prepare. They have this week to kind of get on the same page. It's very important. Hopefully today they're talking about it. They're watching the film right now as we speak, going over the game, and then they got to move on. But they're going to make these corrections, and they got to get on the practice field. Wednesday is going to be crucial, huge. Thursday even more important, so that make sure that by Friday we're crisp and we understand the game plan. And you've got to understand as a young receiver where I'm going to put that ball, and I've got to do a better job of getting that communication to you. But when you get thrown in the game in the middle of it, there's not much time to go over every single, nook and cranny of what this defensive coverage is giving us and how I need you to run your routes.
So yesterday was kind of a flashback to last year on what we saw, who was really picking up receiving wise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Michael Pittman Jr. looked absolutely stellar. 6 catches, 113 yards. Josh Downs, his second game back, 8 catches, 82 yards. Those are 2 guys that we really did expect to have a lot of targets, especially after what we saw from last year. And it wasn't just Anthony Richardson. It was Joe Flacco finding these guys to make plays down the field, especially on 3rd down. Mm-hmm. On 3rd down, Flacco was only missed 1 3rd down on the day, and almost all of them went to either Michael Pittman Jr. or Josh Downs. How important are those 2 receivers to this offense?
Huge. I mean, now I think, and got people, you can be mad at me a little bit, but I think now with Joe Flacco taking over the reins for the time period, you're going to see, Michael Pittman Jr.'s receptions go up. You're going to see his yards per catch go up. You're going to see Josh Downs, really be targeted even more, because the thing is this, right? Joe Flacco's sitting back all training camp. He's sitting back in these few first games, and he understands the talent level. He understands who needs to be getting the ball, as opposed to Anthony, who is just going to look for that deep ball, with Alec Pierce, or just try to take off with his legs, or not understand how, these guys can utilize their tool set. So it's a blessing and a curse at the same time, because, with Anthony out, Michael Pittman's receptions and his yardage is going to go up. It just is. It's going to be there. He's going to make sure that he gets him open. He knows who's the marquee receiver. He also knows who's his true number 2 receiver. He knows that Alec Pierce is a wild horse that's going to get me these bomb plays from time to time, and not the other way around, right? I think that Anthony is the other way around. I'm looking for the big play. I'm looking for the oohs, the ahs, the I can throw the ball 70 yards, just run down the field. It's not there all the time, right? So you're going to see this shift in the dynamic. And now, unfortunately, do you know how long Anthony's out for? Because I was trying to read up, but it hasn't come out yet.
I don't think he's good. Yeah, I think there's a good chance that he could start this week. From what I'm understanding, he could have went back in the game. However, the issue wasn't that it was a major injury. It was just he didn't have the takeoff that he had normally. And that's when he took off on that first play that he came back in. He didn't have that juice to take off.
Mm-hmm.
And so him and Steichen decided just to sit him and let Flacco run the rest of the game. I don't know if he's going to be out this week or if he's going to come back. We'll probably find out, because generally on a hit pointer or something like that, you won't really know much until the next day or the day after.
No, when you wake up.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guarantee you, when he went in the locker room, he got that good Toradol shot, 100%. There's no other way around this. The only reason why he went inside. I just don't think that the Toradol was enough for him not to feel what he was feeling. So, he won't know until tomorrow morning. It takes a full, day and a half really to when you wake up. I'm telling you right now, I took Toradol before every game, and I felt like a spring chicken. And I felt like a spring chicken Monday morning. And then Tuesday, you feel like a freight train just hit you. So, it's going to be Tuesday to where he really knows they're going to, bring him in, test him out, see how he's moving around, see if he can go. He might even get a Toradol shot during the week just so he can get through practice with no pain. But does that just masks it? So, just depending on how they feel with the matchup this week, should he sit or should he play is a decision they have to make for the Colts.
Yep. Jonathan Taylor got that little range that I've been talking about, 20 to 25 carries. He had 21 carries, 88 yards. That's 4.2. That's respectable. Mm-hmm. Currently sitting 5th in the NFL at 349 yards total for 4 games. Just not really that far. He's only literally 31 yards away from leading the league in rushing right now. How important has Jonathan Taylor been and will continue to be to this offense going forward this season?
He is the offense. The offense must run through Jonathan Taylor. It can't run through Anthony. It can't run through anybody else. He is the marquee guy. He's the guy who, when you look for him to give you a spark, he has a knack for pressing the hole, finding the cutback lane, or running through tackles, getting guys going, getting the crowd going. It's going to be – it's crucial that he does touch the ball, at least like you said, 20 to 25 times a game. If he doesn't, bad things can happen, or we can just become stagnant because now you're a one-trick pony, especially with Joe in. Now you're just running the football. Now you're just passing the football. You don't have that element in the game. So, it's going to be – it's crucial. That's why I kept saying the first couple of weeks, John, he needs the ball. You got to give this man a rock. You got to let him go. When you're down a couple scores, I understand you're chasing to get back in the game, but you have to find ways to have him touch the football, whether it's him getting out, releasing out the backfield, getting a check down ball, releasing the flat, screens, all those things where he touches the football because you paid him to be your guy. And quite frankly, he is the guy, right? And so, like you said, to me, he started off slow. He's only 30-some yards away from leading the league in rushing. He breaks big runs. He's must-see TV. So you got to feed him. You have to feed him. You got to.
You talked about earlier in the preview that the Indianapolis Colts needed to start off fast on offense and on defense, and they did exactly that, especially the defense. They were aggressive, very aggressive, especially the linebacker, seeing EJ Speed in the backfield multiple times, making tackles for losses. And you saw Zaire Franklin doing that a few times throughout the game as well. Hell, we were 17-0 up at one point in this game, and the Steelers looked like they couldn't get anything going, especially in the run game, till Cordero Patterson came in, right? Cordero Patterson finished the game off pretty good. He had a pretty solid day, 7.2 yards a carry on 6 carries before he was knocked out with an injury. But outside of that, we held them to 3.4 yards a carry as a team. And yes, they carried the ball. They had it over 30 times carried, right? And Justin Fields threw the ball 34 times. That's a lot of offensive touches for an offense. You know, about 70 touches for the offense. That's a ton, in my opinion. And Fields had 312 yards passing. Really, to me, the stats don't fully dictate. There was a lot of plays in this game, especially on when the Steelers offense was on the field and the Colts defense was on the field. There was a lot of plays that don't show up on the stat sheet that really dictated how this game went. Especially, let's talk about like the miscommunication on that snap a couple times, especially at the end of the game, that ended up in being a sack for a massive loss and put them in the Steelers behind. But this defense was very aggressive, and I thought that it really, even Gus Bradley's play calling, right? I mean, we saw him call blitzes more often than what we were used to. I think I counted 5 in the first half, which is more than what he normally plays in an entire game. What do you think of the defense in this game?
Yeah, so, you know, I've always said, like we said in the Green Bay game, they were in quicksand, start the game off.
Mm-hmm.
The Colts employed me last week, and I didn't want to tell you this, to come in and be the guest coach for the week. Okay, so no, I'm just joking. But no, I really think the emphasis was starting fast, playing fast, you know, setting the tone, getting after this quarterback, not allow him to sit back and pick off a defense and have to make, you know, quick decisions with the football that might not be the best. I think that was their goal for the game. You know, not let him get comfortable, because Justin Fields he's talented. He's a talented kid. And if you allow him to sit back and the field's wide open, he can take off and run and do all those kind of things. So you had to make him uncomfortable. And I think that was the biggest thing. And you know, EJ's a player. He's a rangy, you know, linebacker that can come downhill, and he's fast, and he can beat offensive linemen from, you know, off their spot. And then Zaire's he's the headbanger, right? He's the one that he can set the tone by laying some big hits, but he also can cover pretty decent as well. So I think that they were hedging their bets on one going, one dropping in coverage a lot when those blitzes were called. But nonetheless, you know, the key was start fast, jump on them quick, and then don't let up. Like, why would I have 5 blitzes in the first half, right? And you know, like, then all of a sudden second half call the dogs off. No, this is working. Like, let's stay aggressive all game. So I don't know if this is going to be a Gus Bradley thing moving forward, because it's not traditionally him. But I think this was a great game plan, you know, just change up, right? Like, this was something that you not used to him seeing. And quite frankly, you know, when you look at game plans throughout the week, you know, you get the game plan and you get breakdowns, you get blitz breakdowns, you get pressure breakdowns, right? You get all that stuff. So you, as an offensive lineman, as an offensive player, running backs and quarterback included, you understand when there's a higher probability of the blitz coming. And so when you sit back and you're like, all right, 2nd and 6, not a high blitz down, we could just, you know, what this is, and then they blitz on that. It kind of throws you off a little bit. You got to just be ready for it. So I think Pittsburgh looked like sometimes they were surprised by how aggressive the Colts were. I feel like they were overmatched when it came to effort. I think this was a big effort game. This was a big want-to game. This was a big who wants it more from two teams that I think were, when you look at it, I don't care if they were 3-0 and they came in, I feel like they were more evenly matched than what people really thought they were. And I'll be the first to say it. I did not think this game was going to end the way that it did. You know, when Pittsburgh started creeping back, I was getting a little bit nervous. And
me too.
You're right. I think we all were. But, the Colts did come out to play, and I think they stuck with the game plan, understood what needed to get done, and they did it.
I want to shout out EJ Speed. I've called him out 2 weeks in a row, and he's answered that call 2 weeks in a row. That's something that I mean, obviously he's probably not watching this, but at the same time, I am happy that he stepped up to the challenge the past 2 weeks, especially after the dismal performances that we saw the first 2 weeks. At the end of the game, Zaire Franklin, now this is a guy who likes to talk a lot of smack. All right. There's just no way around it. He's got his podcast. He talks a lot on the field, talks a lot during, interviews. And when I say talk, I mean talk a lot of trash. And yesterday after the game, he called Najee Harris soft. Gave Cordell Patterson his props, says he runs harder, but Najee Harris was soft. What are your thoughts about players calling out other players on other teams like that?
Well, whoever knows me, whoever's played with me, whoever has been a teammate of mine knows that I'm all for it. Like, I might not go in an interview and be like, start talking during the week, but I'm gonna let you know on the field. We're gonna get into it. Like, I'm gonna let you know about it. So, like, I don't mind it. You just have to back it up, right? So, if Zaire felt like Najee is soft, he runs soft, then we're not out there. He's out there. Now, does he run soft? I don't know if he runs soft. I think that it was just more of a, hey, I'm making a statement that, we brought it to you guys. You were supposed to be the guy that was getting all these yards and you didn't get them. I'm gonna get the last word in. So, he doesn't have to play him again this year. I don't know, playoff situations, all that kind of good stuff might down the line. And so guys are going to remember that, and you got to back it up in a few months as well. So, but I'm all for it. Just as long as you can back it up, talk your smack, but you got to be the one. If you're going to run your mouth, be ready for that energy. I tell my son all the time this too. I'm like, listen, I want you out there talking. I want you to have emotion. I want you to have fire, passion, all that. But I'm just telling you right now, you're inviting that energy. So if you invite that energy, be ready to receive it and to be ready to reciprocate it as well. Because I'm telling you, like, this is the digital age. This is the social media age. All these guys, all these players, they watch all this stuff. They hear it. They see it. It's on their phone, laptop, whatever it is. People with friends calling them. So, like, they know. And they know next week, even if Zaire doesn't say anything, they know he's a talker. They know you're going to get into it with him before, like, during the week. If he don't say nothing, I guarantee game day. So guys are going to be gunning for him. So, hey, just be ready to back it up. But I love it though, because it's contagious. It gets everybody going. Like, if I come down and I lay a big hit on somebody, I get up, I'm talking. That all that does is get my D tackle going. That gets my other backer going. Gets my DBs chirping. Gets everybody hooping and hollering, and now we're ready to rock. Like, we're ready to go for the next play, and then someone else makes a play. And that's all he's doing. He's just being a leader out there. Some people look at it as shut up. I look at it as, like, you don't understand what he's really doing. He's cultivating a culture of, on his defense.
That's some pretty good insight right there. I appreciate that. Here's something. Chris Ballard has double, triple, quadruple, octupled down on building through the trenches in the draft, and has been doing that since he's been here. And I think it showed up a lot this past game. Grover Stewart was the only starting defensive lineman on this in this game, with Kwity Payout. Sampson, as we know, has been out. And DeForest Buckner is out. And yet still, we held them to 3.4 yards a carry and got 4 sacks on the day on Justin Fields, a very mobile quarterback. And then on the opposite side, our offensive line that you and I were talking about last week, that they were a very aggressive, very scary defense. That front seven is, right, with TJ Watt and Cam Hayward and all them. And they really were not that effective. The offensive line did a great job. Even with Ryan Kelly out, we started our rookie, was it Tanner Bortolini, I believe, at center. And I think he did a pretty good job sitting out there. We held TJ Watt to 2 assisted tackles. That's it on the stat line. That's it. That's pretty impressive. I think that, building through the trenches does work, especially when you have guys especially guys like Jonathan Taylor on the offensive side that can take advantage of that. And of course, Anthony Richardson, or even Joe Flacco. You can figure Joe Flacco's not a guy like you talked about earlier. He doesn't scramble very much, because he doesn't have the legs to do so. So you need an offensive line to create a solid pocket for 2-3 seconds. And then on the defensive side, the depth showed up, right? And was able to do their job. People talk about how we didn't get depth across the cornerback situation. I get that. But at the same time, he'd rather have depth on the defensive line to make sure, because he wants to build through the trenches. Now, it seems to me like, at least in this game, Chris Ballard's philosophy worked out.
Yeah, I mean, the success of your team only goes as far as the big guys up front. And I'm not saying that because I that's where I played at, or I'm not just being biased, but it's the truth, right? Like, if your offensive line is trash and you got star receivers, star running back, what good does that do? Because if we can't get the ball snapped to the quarterback and give him time to make a decision to do something, it means nothing. So you have to build up front. You've got to create depth. And the hardest thing to do is to create depth on the offensive line. Defensive line, it's a little bit easier to create depth because it's just like, all right, can this guy hold up a double team? How strong is he? Can he rush the passer? He's not great against the run, but he's really great pass rusher. He's going to be, running on that second team, mix him in. You can't do that on the offensive line. You can't be like, oh, this guy's a great run blocker, but he lacks in the passing game, so we'll bring the other tackle in when we want to pass the ball, and then you can't do that. So it's hard. It's multifaceted more on offense than it is on defense, in my opinion. But you do see that when your starter goes down, you can bring a quality guy in to put a Band-Aid on the situation, and you still get a win. You're doing your job correctly by getting that guy ready to play, a young kid, evaluating talent, and really making an emphasis on that. But if you saw like the Colts game plan, especially early in the game, like when they ran the ball up the middle. Like we're taking TJ out of the game. We're not even going to allow him to get in the mix on the run game or be disruptive. Like we're not going to run the ball, try to get the ball outside around him because he's too good of a player to make, for us to, really have confidence that that's going to happen. So we're going to run the ball in the middle, and that's where they got the majority of their yards at. I think Jonathan Taylor loves running inside zone. He loves running power. He loves running, A gap, B gap runs are his specialty. He does have the speed to get outside. It just wasn't a game for that. And so you see the game plan. You saw how you can take a player out of the game, right? Because, that's just you look at it from a double-edged sword, like, dang, I didn't get my stats today. But, hey, they had to change the whole game plan up because of me, right? So, and the Colts did that. They did it effectively. And those guys up front, really, here's the thing. Like, when you have your backup come in, you look at everyone in the huddle, you say, all right, it's on us for real. Like, we got this dinosaur that's coming in. We know he can't run. We know we got to keep him protected. We know we can't afford to get him hit because, God forbid he takes a big hit at that age. You don't know what's going to happen. So I think they did a really good job up front of understanding how the game plan was going to change and what they really needed to do. And hats off to, everybody understanding who they need to neutralize on the defense. And that was TJ Watt. And I think they did a really good job of that too. I'll give you two assisted tackles all day, TJ. You told me the defensive player of the year or a candidate for it, right? So, like, if your stat line is down against me or our team, we did our job.
Absolutely. I mean, you would take 2 assisted tackles on him or the Browns, the guy on the Browns or the guy on the Niners, or, if you hold any of those big dogs down like that, that's a huge plus. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
So one last thing I want to talk about before we get out of here and, get your final opinion on stuff. Should the coach had let Anthony Richardson come back into the game after he was taken out with that hip injury? Is that a situation that you would have done, or would you have kept him out? There's a lot of social media people, couch coaches and stuff like that, going one way and the other. I'm wanting to know what a player's standpoint is on a situation like that.
You want a player standpoint or you want the coach's standpoint?
Well, I mean, are you a coach or are you a player?
I'm a player, so
Yeah.
I'll go from a player standpoint. So this is just me personally. Like, I'm not speaking on for anybody else. This is where my headspace would have been. He goes out. Anthony goes out. He's down. Joe comes in. As a player, I've got full confidence in Joe Flacco over some other backup that, is not battle tested or is just like, put it like this, like if Carson Wentz came in and I'm in the huddle, I'm a little bit like, you know what I'm saying? Because I know I don't have full confidence in him. Like, Joe's going to come in and Joe's going to have a calming effect in the huddle. He's not going to come in rattle. That's one thing he's not going to come in. He's not going to be rattled. He's not going to not know the game plan. He's not going to know how to play football. He's not going to, sabotage the game by doing something crazy, making an air like an errant throw or something like that. So I'm confident that we're okay. Now, when you take him out and you put, AR back in, and he's not 100%. He's trying to get us ready to go, but I know he's not it right now, right? And they take him back out. I'm like, perfect. Keep him out the game because Joe's in here. Joe's managing this deal. Joe knows what we got to get done. We all have confidence in Joe. So I think that the coaching decision was perfect. I wouldn't even brought him back in personally at all. Like once he went in, we're going to shut this thing down for you. We got a whole season left. I don't need you from a mental standpoint going out there and doing something crazy to try to be a hero, hurting yourself more, or just not 100%. The best version of Anthony Richardson right now in his young career is for him to be as close to a 100% as he possibly can be. If he's not 100%, you see what happened. You saw what happened in Green Bay, right? Love should not have came back yet. They look terrible, right? So when you do that and you rush him back or you make him feel like he's the guy, without him, we can't win a football game. When we know good and well that we have a quality guy as a backup, that's why we brought him in to be able to manage games, get wins for us. Like, it's a lot of pressure on a young quarterback, and he's going to make some even more, terrible decisions with the football. And if he's not 100%, and one of his attributes is running the football, and he can't do that effectively. Like, I just need you to go over there. I need you to get better. I'm not ostracizing you, but I just need you to get 100% so then we can get you back in the mix, because we put a lot into you. We put a lot of money into you. We draft you with our first round pick. Like, you're going to be our guy for the future moving forward. But for right now, I need to take care of you and make sure you're 100 so that you can play as well as you can. So I'm all for sitting Anthony for while he's not 100.
I don't think that the coaches realized that his scrambling ability was compromised as much as it was when they did put him in. Otherwise, you wouldn't put him in and then give him an RPO call, right off the gate, because Anthony might take off with it like he did with that RPO. And then Anthony realized, oh, my hip's still sore. I don't have the juice it once had. I think Anthony probably didn't realize either, right? Because you talked about it. You don't realize how injured you are until, a couple days later or whatnot, and your adrenaline's running high, right? So I think it was just a situation where they didn't realize that he was as compromised as he was. Had they known that his scrambling ability was as compromised as it was, I don't think there's any chance in hell that Anthony Richardson goes back in, because if you're wanting, at that point, he's just a pocket quarterback, really. And at that point, you have to say Joe Flacco is above and beyond what Anthony is at that specific skill set, right? At this point in time in his career.
Yep.
I'm not saying he can't become that. Just right now, he's not that guy. And you keep, Flacco in. So I'm thinking that was a situation where they didn't realize how bad it was until he was put back in and he tried to take off, So I can give a little bit of defense to putting him back in, thinking maybe, but at the same time, he was hurt enough to be taken out, and it was pretty obvious he was hurt, So I don't know if I would have put him back so quick. I would have maybe waited until after half or something.
This ain't the playoffs. This ain't Paul Pierce wheel you off in a wheelchair, bring you back, and then you drop 20 points, or you take the team on this magical drive to win a game because we need a win. Like, yes, we need wins, 100%, but to what cost, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, you brought Joe Flacco in for a reason. You brought him in for a reason. You bring every backup guy in for a reason, right? You don't bring a backup guy to be like, we hope he won't have to. You're bringing him in like, listen, if he goes down, we got confidence that this guy can play and manage a football game for us. Not that like everything just falls apart. So I wouldn't have brought him back in at all. I would have let him just, get his hip together and said we don't want to risk anything. And I wouldn't even have tested it in an actual game with live bullets, because guys smell blood in the water, they're gonna go get it. The sharks in the water, they're gonna go get it. So you put him out there to get chance of him getting hurt more, because guys are gonna try to tee him up. It's just that simple. So I'm glad that they took him out. I wouldn't put him back in, but hey, it is what it is. We'll see how this week plays out. And they need to be real with themselves to say, hey, are we going to rest him, or are we going to try to put him back in? But if you put him back in, he better be better than he was before the start of the last game, because if not, it's going to be a bad situation.
One last thing, you just reminded me a little bit. So Jonathan Taylor has a high ankle sprain. Mm-hmm. They said it's mild, but you talk about Jonathan Taylor is the offense. Mm-hmm. Where's the limit that you put him back in next week? Do you get what I'm saying? Because a sprain is one of those situations where you can make it 10 times worse, right? By aggravating it even worse because of the weakness of that ankle. So do you sit Taylor a week or two and let him get fully healthy for the rest of the season? Or do you let him play through because it's just a mild sprain?
It's a great question, Lawrence. If you have Anthony out and Jonathan out, you are super not limited, but you have just really watered down your offense tremendously.
Mm-hmm. Because Trey Sermon is no Jonathan Taylor.
No. He's not. God bless him, because I like his running style. I think he wants to be a really great player, but he's just not him, right? So yes, how bad is it? How bad is it? Like, we got to be real during the week. No practice, very, very light, rehab all week. Stay in the game plan. You'll be a game time decision. We'll try to figure this thing out by Friday, Saturday, what your status is. But he ain't practicing this week. He's taking mental reps. I would probably err on the side of Jonathan, you got to be real with yourself. Tell me what you think. We have to make an educated, calculated decision on how we're going to play him. That is a tough one, but I would err on the side of Jonathan would play. He'll still continue to play through it unless it is super hobbling to where he can't. I mean, look what he can do, and he's almost the leading rusher in the league, right? And so it'll be an interesting call, but I think that Jonathan might play this week.
Does the fact that the Indianapolis Colts travel to Jacksonville to face a divisional opponent affect that decision?
Being the history of us playing in Jacksonville is terrible. Mm-hmm. Super bad losing record in Jacksonville, or even against Jacksonville for that matter, right? I think that it does. I mean, divisional games change everything. They change everything, and Jacksonville doesn't look great, but Jacksonville's hasn't just gotten blown out. Like, they're not a terrible football team. You're gonna need all hands on deck this week, because I guarantee you what, Jacksonville can go 0-10 and play the Colts in the divisional game, and it's gonna be the game of their life, right? And it just historically has just been that. So yeah, that plays a factor into it as well, because Houston is leading the division, and if you want to be right up there with them, you gotta get divisional wins. You can't afford to go 0-2 in the division. That can hurt things a little bit.
Any final words?
Hey, look, listen, great win this week. Colts fans, I apologize for not picking the correct outcome of the game, but hey, I'm just going off of what my observations are. I think the Colts really showed up this week. They played well. They played hard. They fought through adversity. Quarterback goes down. It's huge. I don't care who it is. Guys stepped up. Joe stepped up. The offensive line stepped up. Guys made plays when they had to. Defense played their butts off. Just hopefully they can keep carrying it over. A 2-game winning streak is huge in the NFL. You just got to string them along. You got to forget about this week. You got to learn from it, get better, but you can't go in thinking that, we're going to roll over Jacksonville, because that ain't going to be it. They got to come out and play. So, yeah, positive Monday, positive week ahead. Great to be in, living in Colts Nation too, so I can hear it and not have to hear about, the Colts suck. Like, hey, listen, man, this is football. It's football. It can go either way on any given Sunday. So, hey, hats off to them and great win this week.
Absolutely. My final thought is we talked about how the first few games of the season isn't really what your team looks like. So don't, get all bent out of shape because your defense isn't playing right or your running game's not effective or something like that. Wait till week 3, 4, 5, and we're starting to see that mentality start to step up in playing tough in the trenches, and we're starting to play better football than what we did at the beginning of the season. So I'm starting to get a little bit more comfortable, and I'm starting to like what I see out of the Indianapolis Colts. So I think that's going to do it for this episode of Believe in Colts. Myself and Donald Thomas. This was brought to you by Bet Online, and as usual, go Colts.
Go Colts, baby.
Do you believe?
You going to be able to do a preview this week?
Yeah, I'll be here all week.
All right. Well, I have Thursday off, so just give me a hit up on what time you want to do the recording whenever we get closer, and I'll set it up.
It should be an interesting game, man. That game is, it just traditionally is a tough game. So,
but like you said, Jacksonville almost won.
Yeah, they almost won yesterday. Like, it wasn't like they just got their asses kicked. Like, they lost because they didn't have the ball. Like, point blank period. Like, they lost because they didn't have the football. So, my heart goes out to Jacksonville for real. Like, because I truly feel from a player standpoint, like, those guys want to win. They want to. I feel like Trevor Lawrence is a really good quarterback. I feel like that he's going to be like a Matthew Stafford, just kind of like stuck in a bad spot for a while, just because they can't afford to let him go because you don't have anyone better to go after, or you just, what I'm saying, like the skills that he possesses. So it is tough to see those guys not win football games, but they also do, for whatever reason. I don't care how much coaching turnover you have. They play the Colts tough, man. They play the Colts very, very tough. So it'll be interesting to see how they all pan out. But Colts, they're going to Jacksonville. It's tough. Going down there is tough to play a game against some scrappy guys that right now their backs are against the wall. They're searching for a win, and no better way to get a win than a divisional win to get like their camaraderie and everything going back. So the Colts got to understand that. Excuse me, take care of business and try to come out there, 1-1. I mean, 1-1 in the division, because you don't want to go down 0-2 or, God forbid, 0-3. I mean, you might as well kiss the division goodbye. You do that. Like, you can't be 3-3 or 4-2 might get you to, win a division just if everything else falls apart. But 3-3 ain't gonna get it done. So they got to stay away from, 2 more divisional losses.
Yep. They definitely need to win the next against the Texans.
That's another tricky one. Texans they're not. The Titans aren't gonna lay down either.
No.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So,
but yeah, this is a situation where I'm kind of on the fence on who right now. Depends upon Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor and their injury status, on whether or not they'll play, on whether or not I pick them or not. Because I have a lot of faith in Joe Flacco, but I don't want him, being the sole guy, on offense.
Not this early in the season, for the rest of the season. Like you're asking a lot from him. There's very few guys that can play at that age, and there's a reason why he was home with his boys, chilling, being a family man. He was done. Like he was cool with that. They brought him off the couch. Like, so you're asking a lot from him. I think he can do it in spurts. I don't think he can hold up for a whole NFL season personally. But yeah, I think this is the best time to sit Anthony without having to say you benched your quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, you could sit Anthony as long as like this upcoming game. I still think I would pick the Colts to win if Taylor plays. As long as Taylor plays, if Flacco has to play and Taylor's in there, I love our chances. But if Richardson and Taylor are both out, you're putting a lot on the shoulders of Flacco, and
huge.
That's a problem.
Huge.
So we'll talk about that Thursday, man.
All right, brother. Sounds good.
Sounds like you had a pretty good birthday, right?
Yeah, I was freaking hammered all weekend. I got there Thursday, and it was my sister's birthday on Thursday.
Oh wow!
So mine was Wednesday, hers is Thursday. We're not even a year apart. So I turned 39, she turned 40. She had like 20 something of her friends there, so it was a good time. So we didn't do shit. We just pool, dinners, lots of alcohol. Just chill, man. It was just good to get away. It's my first time going somewhere in a long time, just not working, like not traveling to meet someone or have a meeting or something like that. So it was travel and go sit your ass down and order a margarita. It was kind of weird, but it was good though, man. The weather was a little fucked up with that hurricane. It was like Florida. It rained once a day for like 45 minutes, and then it was good again. But it was just good to get away. I just needed that reset.
It rained all weekend here.
So I heard like it was like my girlfriend called me. She's like the grill's in the middle of the backyard. I was like, "Can you pick it up?" She's like, "No, I can't pick it up." I was like, "Shit, I don't know what I can't. What you want me to do?" I was just happy when I got home last night that the power was on, because I went to the gym this morning and some people were saying they still didn't have power.
Oh wow!
Yeah, like
our power flickered off a couple times over the weekend, especially when the wind was really bad. Like there was like 2 days where the wind was gusting at like 60 miles an hour. For times, and it would flicker off and then come back on, but it never stayed off longer than like 10 minutes. So where I'm at up here in Marion. So
yeah.
It is what it is. So
right. Yeah.
All right, man. I'll talk to you Thursday.
Yeah, I'll we'll talk Wednesday before, and we'll figure out the time and all that good stuff.
All right, man. You have a good